You're listening to the Wealthy Lawyer Squad podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Klein, and the founder of the Wealthy Lawyer Squad, a community specifically curated for law students and lawyers who are ready for more success, wealth, personal growth and wellness, and ease in their legal career. With the tools and strategies I teach in the squad and that I've implemented in my own career successfully, I want you to get ready to approach your legal career in a whole new way and live a life you never imagined. I'm a former big law attorney, entrepreneur, law firm owner, and success coach for law students and new lawyers, and I am here to support and inspire you on your journey in the law every step of the way. Let's go, squad. Welcome back to another episode of the Wealthy Lawyer Squad podcast. I'm sitting here with my new friend, Daniel Gielchinsky. I'm so excited to chat with you today. I know we have so many amazing topics. I've been stalking you on social media a little bit and just being so inspired by everything that you're doing, you know, the successes that you've had and the way that you have really approached law in a different way. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm excited. So tell us kind of, you know, your background. I know you're in bankruptcy and you have, you know, background on Wall Street, and you have done a lot. You've been vice mayor. I mean, you've really had a really impressive career over the years with big firms and of counsel. How did you get to where you are today with your current firm? What was kind of the journey?
Sure. So thank you for that. And I started with kind of medium-sized firms as I was younger when I was in New Jersey. And I moved up fairly quickly, became the youngest partner at the firm I was at. I was at that firm for 7 years in New Jersey. And then there was a very big Ponzi scheme here in Florida. You may have heard of it. It was called Rothstein. Mm-hmm. And, it was interesting to me. I was reading about it. I was watching it. I was in New York at the time. I was the head of the bankruptcy practice group at the firm at the time. I was running the New York office at the time. And I had been married. I was married at that time. And my kid's mom, the woman who I was married to at the time, was also a lawyer at a very big firm, one of the most prominent firms in the world. And she was very unhappy where she was. Mm-hmm. And it was actually her idea that we start looking for another option outside of the New York, New Jersey area. So she proposed that we start looking in Florida. And with my background in bankruptcy, in finance, having worked in Wall Street, and just leading the practice group at the firm, in the bankruptcy group at the time, bankruptcy litigators specifically were in very high demand at the big firms here in Florida. So threw my name in the hat, talked to a few recruiters, had an interview very quickly. Things moved very quickly from there. I got a great offer at a great firm in big law. And we moved down here. We moved to Florida. We moved to Surfside. I started working at that firm. And it was great. It was a great experience. Everyone who I worked with, I have, hold them in very high regard. I'm still friends with many of them to this day. But as bankruptcy work started to eventually trail down, I started to get bored. I started to get tasked on, big teams leading document review projects in these massive antitrust cases. And that wasn't really fun to me. And to me, the value proposition wasn't there for the firm. Like, they're paying me a pretty big salary to do work that was kind of someone at a more junior level easily could have done. So I started to look around, spoke to a firm that wanted a bankruptcy group and was going to bring me in as their partner to run that bankruptcy group. I was there for less than a year. They were all friends, but unfortunately that firm folded. And the people I was working with were going to be absorbed back into another big firm. And I said to myself at that point, I've done that. I've done the big firm life. I was there. I know what that's like.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back there. I can do this.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know at the time what I can do this meant. But I had a friend, Mark, who I sat down with for lunch, and he said, trust me, you open your own firm, this is going to happen, because it happened to me. The people who didn't give you work in the past, didn't send you cases in the past because they just figured they were helping someone else because you're essentially an employee with a title, they're going to help you. They're going to give you work. It's going to come. Just do it. Open your firm. Just don't have fear.
Yeah.
I had, my then wife at the time at home, not working. We had a baby, a young baby, another one on the way. It was daunting to walk away from the security and safety blanket of a salary, but I knew I didn't want to go back to big law. I had done all that, and I was ready to sort of step into my own role as a law firm owner, not knowing fully what that entailed.
I don't think anyone ever does.
Right, you don't appreciate the scope of what you end up having to do, like when the toner runs out. But
Yeah.
you figure it out, getting office space, getting furniture, dealing with all the contractors and everything. But I did it. I had great luck at the beginning. I had someone who I had been suing on the other side of a massive foreclosure case at that big firm ended up becoming my landlord and gave me this great space, this great office space. It was formerly office space that belonged to Julio Iglesias.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I was on the third floor of this majestical, beautiful building that his father had built. And he was so kind to me because he remembered that when I took his deposition, this was a very adversarial case. This was a $240 million loan foreclosure where the owner was claiming that the special servicer had forced him into a default because they wanted to take his hotel. That issue was never fully resolved, but there was a lot of animosity when I got involved in that case, and needlessly so. To me, it's a transaction. It's a loan transaction.
Sure.
So I was always very professional with him. I took his deposition. I remember there was one day he asked me if I can give him a ride home after the deposition.
Oh wow.
And I'm his adversary, right? And his lawyer is there.
Wow.
He's now a judge, Judge Russin, and Judge Russin says there is no way you are getting in a car with Dan. So, but he remembered that I was very professional with him, and that I didn't bring that animosity into the case. He ended up being my landlord. I was there for a few years.
Wow.
Ultimately, he sold his building, but that's sort of how things started. I had that firm for 7 years. It was growing. I had associates. I had paralegals. It was me. It was my firm.
Sure.
And then I'm on this, chat. We're all in these WhatsApp chats. It was a local community WhatsApp chat. And one day I posted that I needed another associate. And a lawyer who I knew from the Rothstein case, a very, very well-known and highly regarded lawyer, writes back to me. And he's a little bit younger than me, but this is a guy who at the time was probably practicing for 17, 18 years. He had been a partner at a big firm. He writes back, "I'll be your associate." And I said, "No, wait, he doesn't want to be my associate. This guy was a partner at a big firm. He's a partner now at another firm."
Yeah.
So we started talking, and I said, "What's going on?" And he told me kind of where he was. He had one big sort of institutional client where he was their general counsel, and then he had a relationship, an of-counsel relationship with a law firm that wasn't quite going the way he wanted. And he was also ready to sort of take the step into ownership, but he saw that I already had the platform, so to speak. I already had a law firm. I already had employees. I already had an office space, computers, and payroll and benefits. So he wanted to sort of step into something that was there, but be a 50-50 owner. So we started this firm, DGIM, and we were together for 3 years. But in those 3 years, I think I accomplished more as a professional, more in terms of living understanding what my values were, and then living my values in those 3 years than I had done in the 21 years that preceded that. So that was really the waking up point, because we started to ask ourselves, how are we different? What are we offering that's different? And that conversation at first, I remember, I was driving here this morning and just kind of thinking about those conversations and laughing at them, because at first the conversations were, we are the only two lawyers who can take a distressed loan through the foreclosure, through a bankruptcy, and see it through all the evolution of all the different challenges and all the different twists and turns. You can take a big loan, which you would typically go to big law for, but we are the two lawyers who can very capably do that. And then, after a few weeks or months of that, we said, is that really different? Like, is that really what makes, does anyone really care? And then we started to look at more closely, what are the things that we're actually doing? So and the questions started to come up as we start to open this firm. What's our time off policy going to be? We said, well, let's make it unlimited time off, because we want to encourage people to take time off, to be with their families, to recharge, to plug in, to be, better people, because they're taking time off, they're taking time for themselves. And how does it hurt us? Ultimately, if the people are doing their work and then they're taking time off and they're recharging and they're coming back happy, in the long run, that's better for the firm, and it's better for them. So
I don't think I've heard that in a law firm setting. I've heard that in other corporate settings, but not in a law firm. That's really cool.
We borrowed it from Silicon Valley. Another thing we borrowed from Silicon Valley. We said we're going to pay for everyone's health insurance, all of it. Nobody, in most places,
Yeah.
let's say the health insurance is $450 a month. The employer pays $225 a month. The employee pays $225 a month.
Yeah. Even in Big Law.
Right. Typical,
Yeah.
standard.
Yeah.
We said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to pay the whole thing.
Wow.
And we're going to give each person an HSA account, and we're going to max it up. So let's say it's a single and their deductible is $3,000.
Yeah.
We're going to put $3,600 into their HSA. That way they know our team members never spend a penny on medical care. And what's the number one concern that you hear from employees? Most of the time it's, what's my medical care going to cost? Something happens to me, like this is going to be totally really expensive.
Yeah.
Our team members don't have to worry about it. Everything is covered. The health insurance, fully covered. The deductible, fully covered with money in your HSA account, tax-free. And if you don't use it, it rolls to the next year. Keep it. So as we started to look at things like that we wanted to do, we said, wait, what are we doing differently?
Yeah.
We're treating our team members with respect. We're doing, we got rid of this sort of hierarchy that exists in a lot of law firms where there's lawyers and non-lawyers. We never liked that. Neither of us ever liked that. We created a space and environment where we welcomed people and challenged people, in fact, to speak up. If you think, you might be a docketing clerk, but if you see a better way of improving the system, speak up.
Yeah, because who better to know how to improve than the person who's doing the thing?
Right. The frontline person is always going to know what's the best way. The paralegals in particular have so much knowledge.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The paralegals we got, luckily, they came from Big Law. They came during COVID because they were tired of a certain mentality, a certain way of being treated. And we said, we're not going to do that. We're not going to call you at 11 o'clock at night screaming at you. We're going to work together with you. We're going to bring you into the teams and teach you what the case is about so that you have the tools to do things. But in return, we want to hear from you. Not just how do we handle the case better, but how do we run the firm better? So as we started to look at things like that, those little examples of what we were doing differently, we said, this is what we're doing differently. Why don't we just say it? We've evolved. That became Law Evolved. We wanted to see an evolution within what was standard for law firms and make it better.
Yeah.
To me, so Law Evolved means something a little bit different to each of the team members.
Sure.
To me, it means an emphasis on health and happiness in the law.
Yeah.
And it's not something you see.
No, it's unfortunately extremely rare, and it's hard to know why, because if everyone's happier, if everyone's aligned, that's great just from a human perspective, of course, and that's amazing. But it's also great from a business perspective. If everyone's happy and aligned and doing their job and they're efficient and they're effective, everyone wins. It just makes sense, on so many levels. This episode of the Wealthy Lawyer Squad podcast is sponsored and brought to you by Law Firm Sites. Law Firm Sites has been building custom websites and providing online marketing for law firms specifically for over 23 years. They are great at what they do because it is all that they do. So if you're looking to expand the reach of your firm or just improve your online presence, then Law Firm Sites has the team to do it. Go to lawfirmsites.com or call 800-932-8242 and mention the Wealthy Lawyer Squad to receive 10% off your website or marketing package that you choose. They are absolutely fabulous. Highly recommend them. Love them, love them. Go check them out.
Right. Happier people are more productive people.
Yeah.
And we saw that, and we started to get that feedback from people within a matter of months. People who essentially described their experience where they had been as trauma. And what started to emerge was what we were hearing became colloquial known as rehab for lawyers, rehab for legal professionals.
Yeah.
So we promoted it and we bought into it, and we kept doing things that would help that notion grow. And we attracted team members who bought into that, or when they heard that, they said, that sounds different. That sounds like something I want to be a part of.
Yeah.
And luckily, it started to help us attract clients who also started to buy into that, started to have those conversations with us. I remember one client in particular, guy's about 10 years younger than me, so figure late 30s, and he owns a big fund, a very successful real estate fund. And I told him I had an all-day meeting at his office, and I said, we're going to take a break at noon. I want to jump into a podcast that my partner Monique is going to be doing about health and happiness in the law with one of her colleagues. So he joined the podcast. There was a lot of people there.
Oh, wow.
And, after the podcast, he said to me, at my age, and I'm looking at him like at my age, maybe 10 years younger than me, He says, I'm starting to see the value of bringing this into my life and bringing it into my company.
Yeah.
So it had an impact.
That's amazing.
Right.
That's amazing. So for clients, when you're kind of letting them know, hey, obviously on the technical legal side, we are the best, we're amazing, and we know that. We also have law evolved and we do things differently and we're proud of that. Is that something that you're kind of telling clients from the get-go? Like, this is part of our ethos and how our firm works? Have you ever had a client say, ooh, what's up with that, or anything like that?
So sometimes if I get the opening, yes. Sometimes a client
Yeah.
will say to us, and they'll say, we're talking to a few firms, tell us why you're different.
Yeah.
And when I lay it out for them, at first the reaction is, really? Like, this is lawyers are doing this now?
Mm-hmm.
But then they'll have a story or something that they related to in what I've said.
Yeah.
And they'll say, lately I've been dealing with this, or I just read about this. And something within what I describe will often help them relate to what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And typically those are the people who end up becoming clients. So
Yeah.
we've had good feedback. What's funny is that there's this thing in lawyers' minds, and especially litigators like me, that I need to be that bulldog. And I used to be called the bulldog. That used to be my nickname.
Like the literal nickname.
Right. I was so aggressive. I didn't let go.
Wow.
We're talking 15 or more years ago.
Yeah.
But we have this thing in our head that we need to be this bulldog and this is how we're going to win. And now we're seeing it's not that way. 2% of cases go to trial.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone to trial. I've tried, 14-day jury trials in federal court, fraud cases. So I'm not afraid to go to trial. I love trial work. But the reality is most cases settle. And what are we really doing here for most clients? When they walk in that door, they're looking to solve a problem.
Yeah.
They're looking for a solution.
Yeah.
You're not going to find that client a solution if the first thing you do is pick a fight with the other lawyer.
Right. Right? That's how I've always seen it. Like, who's going to win in that instance? Maybe the lawyers. Maybe.
In the short term, sure.
Right.
You're going to generate this big bill. Maybe the client will pay it. Maybe not. Is the client really satisfied with that result? Like, all they're getting is this bill and there's this fighting. Yeah. And maybe they feel for a short period of time like, I've got a cheerleader. This is aggressive.
Yeah.
But they get tired of that. 4 or 5 months of big bills, $20,000 bills.
Yeah, and in constant fight or flight for maybe unnecessarily to a certain extent.
Right. It wears on them.
Yeah.
So I've done 2 things differently within the last couple of years. One is I'll tell clients, this problem that you walked in the door with, imagine it's like a backpack that you've been walking around with. You got this backpack. Now, I want you to close your eyes. Give me this backpack and put it on my shoulders. Now it's mine. It's my problem. I'm going to solve this for you. We're going to work together.
I love that.
And we're imagine that we're in this tunnel. It's a dark tunnel. You can grab my hand, and we're going to run through this tunnel together. And there's a light at the end of this tunnel. I know it because I've been through this tunnel many times.
Yeah.
You don't see it yet, but I know it's there. So grab my hand, and let's run together to the end of the tunnel, and let me find you this solution.
Yeah.
And now that puts them in the mindset of not so much, this aggressive fighting, this bulldog mentality, but find me this solution.
Yeah, solution oriented. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. We'll have to go through the tunnel and we'll go through it together. I saw your post on that and I love that because I think it calms people. It says, give me some of that burden. That's why you're hiring me, my expertise and the burden to shift a bit.
Right.
And I think that just sets the stage, in so many great ways.
For what we're going to do next.
Amazing. Yeah.
So you're not going to get to that solution by being super aggressive. Like everyone knows what they're doing. This is South Florida. Every lawyer is looking for a fight. But if you approach the problem in a way that transmits powerful kindness.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Powerful kindness.
And you
really
will
good.
get to the solution. For instance, you propose mediation prior to litigation as long as it doesn't prejudice your client's position.
Sure.
You may solve the problem before you fire off a lawsuit and get into literally a federal case.
Yeah.
So things like that are making a difference, and we're seeing it. And we're seeing a lot of now repeat clients, a lot of referrals who are getting generated that way by people who left that experience and said, that guy solved my problem, or that team solved my problem.
Yeah.
And that's what they wanted.
Yeah. Wow. So I know you talked about, on the healthcare side and making sure employees have, the time off to rest and recharge. I know you also had a post where you talk about you do personality tests for your team,
We do.
which I thought was so cool. So tell me, how did your team like that? Like, has that been a positive experience for everyone?
Totally, because
Love that.
so to set the stage, we were working with an alignment coach. It was one of my partner's ideas. He had been working with that coach and in some prior positions.
That's cool.
So part of what the alignment coach does, and people hear coach, they think it's like a business development coach. It's not. This is just a coach for alignment, communication and alignment within the
Wow.
organization.
How did you find that, or how did your partner find that person?
They had been working together at a prior law firm. So another law firm had incorporated him
Yeah.
into for a short period of time. And they had tested him out. I don't know, they weren't bought in, they weren't invested, but he saw the benefit of it in the long run.
Yeah.
So he said, let's try this again in the DGIM platform.
Yeah.
So we both met the coach, started working with the coach, and like the first thing you do is you take this personality test. And there's lots of personality tests out there, but he's got the one that he subscribes to.
Yeah.
And then our protocol became any team member who we interviewed after they spoke to my partner. Step 2 was take the personality test before they even spoke to me or before they spoke to any other team members.
Smart.
And with us, all team members interview. Paralegals interview potential partners. Everyone is involved in the interview process.
Oh, I've never seen that either.
Right?
That kind of, establishes that it's not the partners or the lawyers at the top. It's a team.
It's a team.
It's a team.
And I want that feedback.
Wow, I love
I'll tell
that.
the paralegal.
I'm taking a lot of personal notes for our team because this is
Good.
smart.
So I'll tell the paralegal, I'll tell the administrator, you're going to go talk to that lawyer. The lawyer may have 10, 15 years of experience. And I know that in an interview with me, they're going to show a certain amount of deference, a certain amount of respect. I want to know how that person's going to treat my team, right? That's going to be the test of whether that team member is going to fit. I do not want people who are going to talk down to paralegals, who are going to talk down to an administrator, talk down to staff members who they perceive to be non-lawyers. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
I want to see the true colors. I need to see that interaction and hear the feedback from the paralegals, the administrator, a clerk. So step 2 in the process of a new candidate is take the interview, take the personality test. And what that gives us is sort of a grid where, first of all, we can tell what is that person's strengths, and then what are called double troubles. What are the things that come out, the negative personality traits that come out when that person's under stress. And then we take that grid and we kind of fold it into the larger firm grid so that we each know, like, where is each person's strengths, where are the person's potential deficits when they're under pressure. And then we have a firm-wide grid that shows us, like, who fits where, who are the people who are best suited for this type of role versus that type of role.
Interesting.
For me, what it also gives me is the ability to, let's say I need to have a difficult conversation with someone, or get someone realigned into whatever's happening.
Yeah.
The first thing I'll do is look at that person's personality profile and say to myself, what does this person need out of the conversation? What are the values that are going to be important to that person, and how am I going to relate to the person at their level?
Yeah.
Because for me to come at my level and start imposing my will on someone, it never worked.
Right.
So you need to talk to people, meet people at their level.
Yeah.
So having that personality test tells me, or the personality profile sort of gives me an idea of how to approach that person. And everyone has it. We are open book. Everyone sees it. Everyone knows where the other people sort of lie in the personality profile and how that fits in relation to the firm. And people have told us, even people who ended up not working with our team, but we give them the personality profile, they'll say that shed a lot of light because I didn't know this about me.
Yeah.
And you can take that test 30 times over 30 days. It's going to be the same result.
Yeah. Yeah.
My partner told me he once took it drunk, and it was the same result.
Just to see.
Just to see. And the result came out
That's
exactly
hilarious.
the same.
No, I love that. And I think, when I started my career as in Big Four public accounting, we did stuff like that. Even though it was that big firm world, like they did personality tests. They tried to see how everyone kind of fit in. I never did that at any law firm I worked at. They kind of just throw you in and expect you to all work well together and to, fit together. But at the end of the day, if you don't understand how everyone communicates or works under pressure, which we're under pressure a lot, especially as a litigator. I don't litigate, but I'm still under a different type of pressure. If you don't know how to communicate, like you're doing a disservice to yourself, to your team, to your clients.
Right.
At the end of the day, because I'm sure you're not giving your clients the test, but I'm sure you've now become aware when you're talking to someone almost of what type they may be. I'm sure that probably happens just organically.
Yes.
It's that awareness.
Right. And the reflection and the ability to know about me, what are the things that are potentially problematic for me? What are my triggers?
Right.
What do I need to work on to be a better communicator, to be a better leader?
Yeah.
And where are sort of my potential downfalls? So having that awareness for me has allowed me to work on those personality issues and evolve them so that they don't show up as often.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's amazing. So this podcast is all about money and mindset. So let's talk about money and wealth for a little bit. We were chatting a little bit before the podcast about what wealth is. And it's so many things. Obviously, you think about money and assets, but it's also happiness and the ability to, tell us, you were saying the other day, you kind of went and worked out after a couple hours of work. Talk about what does it mean to be wealthy, not just in money. And then we'll talk about the money side too.
Sure. So, there's an interesting teaching in a book called Ethics of Our Fathers. And the expression says, Ezahu Ashir Hasameach Bechalko. Who is the wealthy person? The one who is happy with his lot. So wealth it's all relative. I know lawyers who make $1 million a year but spend $2 million a year. Would I call that person wealthy? Probably not. That person they're insolvent. I mean, they don't have enough money to pay their debts.
Yeah.
So what I've learned is a few things, and especially within the last 3 years of having this firm, is if you're just chasing money, it shows up. Everyone sees it.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get it. You're not going to, in the long run, sustain a substantial amount of income because you're just chasing one thing to the exclusion of a lot of other things like family, your health, your wellness, your emotional well-being, social relationships, religious connections, community service. These are all the things that sort of make someone well-rounded.
Yeah.
So just chasing in the short term, maybe you'll make a few dollars this quarter, but it's not sustainable. But I think the most impactful thing that I've read within the last year or so is that wealth is the ability for me to decide that at 10 a.m., I'm going to take a workout class and I'll be back at my desk at 11:30.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. The world still turns.
Right. I'm not doing brain surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to get the work done. My team is going to get the work done. We work hard. There's no question about it. Yeah. And we get great results. But it doesn't mean I'm sitting at my desk for 12 hours a day. It doesn't have to mean that because that leads to burnout. And as you know, in our profession, there's so much burnout. There's so much turnover. So, being a law firm owner to me has meant in terms of wealth is, for instance, my kids. I'm a single dad. I have my kids half the time. And I tell people, if you have your kids half the time, you need to spend twice as much time with them. So for me to be home, for instance, on Wednesday, the kids come to me on Wednesday. They're with their mom Monday, Tuesday. So I haven't seen them in 5 days typically. By Wednesday, they've been with her over the weekend, let's say. To be home when my younger son gets home and to welcome him, that's wealth. I'm not in a big office in Brickell somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not struggling getting through traffic. I'm getting work done. I've got a computer. I've got internet.
Yep.
I've got a phone. Everything's happening. But he comes home. I'm home. Dinner time with the kids, that is non-negotiable. All my team members, all my clients know that is non-negotiable. Between 5:30 and around bedtime, I don't exist to the world except to my kids and my parents. Yeah. So to me, that is a huge marker of wealth, the ability to dictate your schedule, to have the time and the balance to bring everything into your life, to your emotional well-being, time to exercise, time to pursue other activities, time to be involved in your community, in your civic, social, religious organizations, whatever that might look like. Yeah. That's wealth. If you're always chasing money, guess what? You're going to end up spending more than you make, and you're not going to have anything to show for it.
Yeah, we see it all the time in our industry,
right?
And I don't think people they're not even aware. I don't think, it's not an awareness of I'm doing this. It's just, this is what I want to do, or this is what I need to do to feel good because I work so hard, or I need to have this big fancy lifestyle. And not that there's anything wrong with beautiful, fancy, luxurious things, but it's the intentionality, I think, behind it.
Yeah, I've heard you say that in some of your prior
Yeah.
podcasts. It's exactly right. The intentionality of where's your focus, where's your priorities.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, because you were telling a story, and I'd love to hear when you started your firm, you know, how turning to the true money side of things, you can build something and be incredibly successful. So I'd love to hear that story.
Sure. So that it's a great story, and you know, it's funny how it all came together. You can say it's coincidence, but my father would tell me there are no coincidences. Everything has a divine purpose behind it.
Yeah.
Just a question of whether you're going to see it and bring it into your life.
Mm.
What had happened was I had just started my own firm. I was a solo. I'm a guy in a room, right? I'm just me, and a computer and a printer that keeps running out of ink.
Yeah. What year is this roughly?
This is 2014, August of
Okay.
2014.
Okay.
And I'm just a guy in a room in a beautiful office that used to belong to Julio Iglesias, right? And
So there's already some magic in that room anyway.
right. Julio had magic. Julio knew how to do it. Me, I'm still working on it. Right? I'm still getting there. So there was this is August, and I had started the firm, and I didn't really have a lot of clients. I got some bankruptcy trustee work. I had a few small matters, but you know, I got to pay the bills, right? I needed some bigger cases, and I'm networking and doing my best to get my name out there. Probably one of the best things I did at that time was I always kept my Outlook contacts, no matter where I went. If I met someone, put them in my Outlook. You know, everyone has an email address.
Yeah.
Everyone has a phone number. So anytime I met someone, if I would get an email from someone new and there's a signature block there, John Smith, that's the phone number, that's the email address, put it in my Outlook. And wherever I went, I brought my Outlook with me. If I left a firm, I would ask, can I have my Outlook, my PSD file? They would give it to me, no problem. Load it up into my new Outlook. So I had accumulated a few thousand contacts by then. I had been practicing law for probably 13 years at that point. So I had some contacts.
Yeah.
So I had sent out an email blast saying, I'm here now, and this is my new contact information, and this is how you can reach me, and a short blurb about the kind of work I was doing. But short, you know, just a short email like, here's where I am now.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a lot of feedback at that time. But one gentleman who I had worked with at my big firm got that email. He saved it, thankfully. And I had been working with him on a really big real estate development issue that ended up having some bankruptcy overlays when I was at my big firm. But this was a wealthy guy. By all accounts, a house on Bay Road, to me, driving a Bentley around Miami Beach.
Yeah.
To me, by all accounts, a very wealthy real estate developer. I'm talking to my dad one day, you know, one morning, and I get the call waiting, and I see it's him. It's this guy who I haven't spoken to in several months. I said, Dad, let me call you back. I call the gentleman back, and he says, I don't know if you knew this, I'm in bankruptcy. I said, you're in bankruptcy? You know, I'm thinking in my head, this is a wealthy guy.
Right.
But the real estate market had crashed, and he had a lot of personal guarantees, as real estate developers tend to do. And 3 very aggressive judgment creditors had ganged up on him and put him into an involuntary bankruptcy. And for whatever reason, you know, he had other debts that were happening. He decided to consent to the bankruptcy, let it go through, and use the bankruptcy as a tool to sort of shed himself of some of these personal guarantee obligations and these debts that were flying around. Yeah. So case wasn't going well. He starts telling me the case isn't going well, and he starts telling me what's happening. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this is definitely an educated guy. He's got a law degree. He never practiced law, but he's got a law degree, and he's a very sophisticated guy. And you know, sometimes people are just upset with the process.
Right.
But his lawyer had been recommending to him a settlement at that point. It was a very big settlement. It was a huge settlement. But the way he was describing things didn't seem right. Now, I could say by coincidence. I don't think it was by coincidence, but he says to me, you know, this is the case number. And I go look at his case. I see he has a hearing the next day in front of a certain judge. Turns out I have a hearing the next day
in
front of that judge.
No way.
In another matter, unrelated matter that I'm handling. I said, you know what? I'm going to be in court anyway. I have a hearing in another matter. I'll hang around. I'll listen to what's going on in your case.
Yeah.
And I dealt with my matter. It was a relatively small issue, and my hearing's over. And then I watched the other hearing. And sure enough, what the client was complaining about happened in front of my eyes. The lawyer literally sold out his client in front of the judge. To me, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything. But don't sell
Yeah.
your client out right in front of the judge. The
Mm-mm.
judge asked him a question about some subpoenas, and he made some remark like, I don't know why the guy's not responding to these subpoenas. Like, is that the best you could do? So I called the client
Mm.
back and I said, you're right. You're right. That's not something I ever would have done.
Wow.
I'm surprised to have seen what I saw.
Oh, so the client wasn't there.
No, the client wasn't there. I reported back to
Wow.
him. By that point, he was so
Wow.
sick of what was going on
Wow.
that he wasn't going to hearings anymore. And,
Yeah.
I thought he was just frustrated. But no, what he was complaining about was actually happening. I called the client back and I said, I'm sorry you're going through this, but that shouldn't have happened. I never would
Yeah.
have done that. I
Yeah.
understand your frustration now.
Yeah.
Client, okay, substitution of attorney, great. And I said, you need a team. Like, there's a lot of moving parts here. There's you, but there's family trusts and there's companies. And there was a bad ruling over here. You need an appellate lawyer. So he says, put a team together. So I call my people in the community who I think are each good at this area of what I needed them to do.
Yeah.
Put a team together, start working on his case. And that case got a lot of attention. There were a lot of novel legal issues in the case. It was a big case.
Yeah.
So between all the work I start doing on that case and then follow-on work that starts coming to me because I'm sending work to those lawyers and those lawyers are now sending me work because I've sent them some pretty juicy work.
Yeah.
Within a matter of months, I was making more money at my own firm than I had ever made in big law. Literally
Wow.
within 5-6 months.
Wow.
I paid myself back whatever money I had used to start the firm,
Mm-hmm.
and literally bringing home every 2 weeks more money than I had ever made in big law.
Wow.
And it never turns back. It just progressed and grew from there.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful that that happened. That was definitely some divine intervention
Yeah.
happening there. I cannot say that was all me.
Yeah.
You have to put in your effort.
Yeah.
Putting the emails out there, collecting those emails for 13 years,
Yeah.
sending the email blast and having that intentionality about what you're doing
Yeah.
definitely helps, but definitely some help from above there.
Yeah. I call it inspired action. You're getting inspired, you're getting something from the universe, from God, from whatever, but then you're taking the action. You already have the background, you have the expertise, you're reaching out. So I think it's that combination. But
Yeah.
that's incredible and inspiring for me as a now 2.5, I have a 2.5-year-old law firm, which
Right.
is growing rapidly, but it's so cool to see, looking back to that time period and seeing that success and the continued success is very inspiring to me as a new, my law firm's a little toddler still. She's growing, but she's growing fast. So
Right.
it's cool to see. So what was the moment or what was the turning point in your career? So you're making a lot of money, you're doing really well, you're making all these wonderful connections and you have these great clients. What was the turning point that you said, okay, my health, my well-being is important to me as a lawyer? Was there like a moment? Was there a flash? Was it little things over a period of time?
So it's a great question because it was actually more recent than I ever imagined. It was something we talked about, having health and happiness within the law. Like, to me, that meant taking more vacations. When I had started my own firm and I was a solo and then I had some people working for me, in that span of 6-7 years, I rarely took a vacation.
Yeah.
And when I joined my partner in DGIM, one of the first things he did was say, you need to take a vacation. Like, he actively forced me and, he did the hotel room booking. He took my credit card. He kind of pushed me out the door and said, you're not coming back next week.
That's a good partner.
So
that's a good partner.
Very good partner.
Yeah.
And just knowing that I had a partner there now to like run the firm when I'm not there was a huge help.
Yeah.
So he sort of pushed me in that direction. And then I started to live that, but slowly. But he left in December 31 of 2024. He left. He went in-house with one of our bigger clients. So now he's a client, but I no longer have that equity partner with me. And it took a toll on me emotionally. And I started to have anxiety because of it. And it started to become pretty severe. It started to take over. I wasn't sleeping at night. I was working a lot, but not going anywhere.
Been there.
It's a horrible feeling. And, I ended up having a medical issue because of it, because the anxiety, it just took over. And what happened, within those few days when I wasn't really working because I was dealing with the medical issue, my team all jumped in and everyone like took something. They kind of, they all got on the phone or they all got on Teams, and, we use Teams as our platform. And they all said, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And, when I turned around a few weeks later and looked at what everyone had done, it was done to a higher level of professionalism than I would have done it. And I said to myself, wow, this is a great team. Like, I could disappear for 2-3 days and everything's going to be done and potentially at a higher level than I would have done it myself. So I know I can trust this team. So I knew right then and there I needed to make some changes. So I changed my schedule. I'm walking now every morning, 2 miles every morning. That is non-negotiable. Working out 3 times a week, non-negotiable. Like heavy intensity, boxing, weightlifting. It's on my calendar. It gets planned the week before. It's there in my time slots. Everyone has visibility into my calendar. It is non-negotiable. If someone says, if I have to schedule a hearing or whatever, I'll move it, but it's not coming off my calendar. It's just getting moved to a different date. And once you start doing all that, you're going to change your diet, because why do all this working out if you're just going to eat the same food? So I started to change my diet, started to get more information about nutrition, and started to incorporate all that. So in a relatively short period of time, I've lost 15 pounds, put on muscle, feel better. I know I'm more prepared to do my job, to be a dad, to be a leader, because of the changes that I made within, now it's about 6 months.
It's amazing.
So I see it. It's visible. My clothing's different. Team members see it. So, just having that in my face and realizing, wow, like this really does need to be my priority, not just something I tell other people to do. And then seeing that the team members around me are all super supportive, very talented, and they want to do the work, pitch in, do what needs to get done, reinforced to me that I can do that. I have that support system. I have that team around me who I can trust. So
it's huge.
I don't need to be sprinting all the time. I need to put me as a priority as well.
And I think, we all have those times where we have anxiety or we kind of need that break, but we usually keep pushing ourselves. And then the universe is like, oh no, I'm going to force you to take that break. But if that hadn't happened, I don't know, maybe you wouldn't have seen how much because, we all are A-type. We're A-type. We think we can do it the best. We need to do all the things, but that's not how you grow. That's not how you have a bigger team. The more, bigger team you have, the more money you can pay to them. It's amazing. And then you grow too. But if we don't have those moments where we have to take a step back, sometimes we don't see, the value of those around us. And you're like, oh, really? I was gone for 2-3 days and everything was better. Nothing fell apart. We're actually not that important. You know what I mean? Like, I think as lawyers, sometimes we think we're the end all be all. We're not that important at the end of the day. We're important in some ways, of course, but our team's got it. If you got a good team.
Right. And it definitely takes effort to make sure your team is aligned. And we put a lot of time into that. We have that weekly Friday
I'm sure that wasn't accidental that the team was so great.
Right. That's, a lot of very intentional work on making sure that everyone knows what everyone else is doing. It's not as hard when you're 8 people versus when you're 300 people.
Right.
But it takes a lot of effort to make sure that everyone knows what everyone else is doing, which is why we have a weekly team meeting. After weekly team meeting, we go through a 2-week calendar. And then every 2 weeks, the lawyers and paralegals have a meeting where we get sort of into the guts of each case. We spend a few minutes on each case with a focus on cases that have no activity. We have a no activity report that we generate. Why has there been no activity in this case, this case, and this case for the last 2 weeks? Because that's how things fall off of people's plate. So having those exercises where everyone's touching base about what's going on with our cases has been very valuable in terms of making sure that everyone can sort of jump into a role at any time. And then the other thing we do that I really promote is the lawyers will bring, let's say your pod is going to be these 3 people for this case. I'll tell the lawyers, or I'll do it myself, let's have a meeting. Let's talk about the case. Because every case is nuanced. The most simple breach of contract. It's nuanced. And there's a client on the other side who wants a result. So we'll get the team together and talk about the case. This way you're not just throwing a paralegal at, do this discovery task, do a request for production. And then trusting that they're going to go and read the complaint, read the answer, figure out what are the issues.
Right.
A lot easier if you take a half an hour and say, this is what the case is about. This is the result the client wants. This is what's happened so far. This is what needs to happen next. But I never really saw that happening in my training. It was something that I feel like I started to realize it needed to be done. And now you've got team members who are invested in the case and they understand it. And they can jump into a role and their work product's going to be a lot better than if you
Yeah.
had just thrown something at them cold.
Yeah, it's a brain trust. And I think just talking and collaborating, inevitably you're going to think of different things. Someone's going to say something and be like, "Oh yeah, let's go down that road. What is that?" Maybe you've seen something in another case, or, just even talking about it out loud rather than thinking about it in a vacuum, I think is invaluable.
Right. We have one paralegal who knows boats. She knows boats like I don't know anything about boats. I just know they go in the water. But she knows boats. She has a boat. She's into the boating world.
Yeah.
So we have a case involving a luxury vessel, a big yacht, and she's brought information forward that I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
Well, let's go and look at this. Let's go and look at that.
Yeah.
She also knows rental real estate a little better than most people. So very often, when we have real estate type issues, she'll start looking at things that other people might not have looked at.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing.
You get different feedback, different input, because everyone's a function of their past experience.
Yeah.
And if you leverage that experience by bringing people into the conversation, you're going to have a better work product.
Yeah. Wow. You're so inspiring. You've done so many cool things. And I think what I love the most is hearing how you're doing things differently in a way that is aligned with who you are and that's focused on health and well-being, and you're still having great success. And I think that is just, I think a lot of people think it's this or that, and I don't think that's the truth. And I think you're a living embodiment of that. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and the things that you're doing differently. I think it's really going to be impactful for a lot of people who are listening. Our audience is law students and lawyers, I think, who want to at least see, is there a different way that I can do things? Is there a different approach I can have? So thank you so much for coming on. If anyone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to find you? I know your socials are really, really good. So
the socials are definitely, to watch kind of what we do. It's DGIM Law. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and our website is www.dgimlaw.com. And then everyone's email address is there. What you'll see different about my website is typical website, typical law firm. You'll have the owners at the top, right? I'm on the bottom. I'm the last guy. You got to scroll through everyone to get to me.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, when we developed the website, I said to everyone, "Why am I at the top? I'm literally at the bottom. I carry everyone on my shoulders.
Yeah.
The team, I know all of them, and I'm responsible to make sure there's food on their plate. Eggs are expensive these days. Tuitions get paid. Soccer lessons, like that's making sure that we're bringing in the work and getting the work done and getting paid. That's my responsibility ultimately.
Yeah.
So you'll find me at the very bottom of the website, and that's why.
I love it. It's amazing. Thank you so much for coming on, Dan. This has been such a treat. I can't wait to just continue getting to know you better, your firm better. Thank you so much for everything you brought to us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure. And I hope that everyone who watches this finds something valuable here in what we've talked about.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Bye.
Bye.